Okay, how's everyone doing? Everyone good? Any questions or comments about what we just
I just
experienced?
thought it was excellent. It just gave me a nice reprieve from life. It was the best meditation I've ever had.
Yay! Words we love to hear. Yay! Right, a reprieve. I love that word. Yeah, it is. It's a reprieve. It's. The funny thing is, there's nothing to it. You know, there's nothing. You know, people sometimes they'll use that phrase, like, you know, your math teacher might say, "Well, look, there's nothing to it. You just carry the one and wait. Now there's something to it, right? Right.
Information.
But in this case, there's really nothing to it, and so in a way, it balances out. It's a reprieve from all the somethings. It's the nothing that's the relief from all the somethings. And by not essentially doing anything except noting that, oh, okay, we're in this awareness. Awareness is kind of like open space. We just hang out here because we don't seem to have any choice. Then whatever settling takes, and yet, even though we're not doing anything, actually, because we're not doing anything, settling happens. Because we're not trying to settle. Because trying to settle is a contradiction. That's like working at not working. Right?
Yeah, I happen to have responded
Yeah.
excellently.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Or whatever you did.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just up here saying some words. Which you know what? As a matter of fact, it always kind of amazes me still after all these. It's really kind of a miracle because I just sit here saying some words, but it seems to be if you say the right words, they just kind of because I'm not giving you anything to do. I'm just essentially pulling the rug out from under you, the rug of the expectations that I have to do this or do that, and then you kind of go into some free fall. You know, gravity takes over, and the gravity is the mind's natural gravitation to coming home. Coming home. You know, years ago when I was a kid, I did a little bit of horseback riding, not much, a little bit. And one of the things I learned very quickly is if you're on a horse and it's feeding time and you let the horse's head get turned towards the corral, you're going to the corral. Okay. So the horse of the mind, you know, is always looking to be fed. That's the reason that it wanders around. Oh, go over here, go over here, go over here. And in what people usually do when they think, oh, now it's time to meditate, they think, well, meditation means my mind is supposed to be still. So I have to make my mind stop wandering around, stop seeking nourishment, stop seeking interest, joy, sweetness. Hold still. Discipline. I tried that very, very briefly. I hated it. It was a strain. It's so unnatural. That's why we call this natural meditation. It's the opposite of that. And, you know, I'm just very fortunate that I had some teachers that pointed out to me very clearly what doesn't work and what works. And what works is just allowing the mind's natural gravitation to go back to the corral, to go back home, to go toward more enjoyment. Just let that take over, and that makes the mind naturally settle within, because it turns out that the real source of joy is in here. It appears to be in the stuff out there. But really those are, for instance, some of you have seen this little demonstration before. Now you're going to see it again. Let's say I'm thirsty. I say, oh, I really want water. I really like water. Water is, okay, here's some, I want some water, I want some water, I want some water. Ah, water. That's great. The water has really brought me joy. I experience, I enjoy the water. Hard to argue with. But look what's actually happening here. I'm having the desire for the water. It's like my as if my awareness, so let's say my attention, is going outward, looking for the enjoyment. It might be something else. It might be ice cream or knowledge or power or whatever. But right now it's water. So my attention is going outward, looking for that, looking for it. And then in the moment that I fulfill the desire, what happens? My attention stops going outward. It stops seeking water. And when I go, haven't we all done that? In that moment, what we're doing is having fulfilled the desire, we settle into ourself, and that's where the joy is. The joy is in you. We call that enjoyment. And all these things that appear to be the sources of joy are really just pretexts for allowing us to settle into ourselves. Okay, so if we take the water, put it under an electron microscope, we'll find hydrogen, we'll find oxygen. We won't find joy. Right? If it ain't in here, it's got to be in here. Yes, Yafa L.
I mean, it's not even, in my experience, not even about seeking joy. It's about seeking just like, okay, I got that content.
Yes.
Check that off. Or whatever. Even if
contented,
it's just like
yeah.
getting, when I get that perfect parking space, or not even perfect,
Yeah.
when I get the parking space,
Yeah.
then okay, that's
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
It's like there's always this like attainment, even if it's not like for something.
Yeah, or just the solving of the
Right,
what seems to
whatever
be
it is.
some problematic nature of life. Everything's fine except you got this piece of celery stuck in your back tooth. And then when you get rid of it, it's, as you say, it's that. Now, I like the word that you used there for a moment, the contentment. What's interesting is contentment is connected with the word contain, like self-contained, like a continent. A continent is a self-contained landmass. Don't need anything outside of itself, right? So at that moment that you get the parking space, the feeling is, we don't need anything outside ourselves. When we enjoy a wonderful work of art, a symphony or a painting or whatever it is, there's something about the harmony of the different elements of the colors or the sounds or something that we feel, it's right here. This holds my attention. I don't need to go anywhere else. I feel self-contained and I settle within myself. So all these different things, whether it's art or parking spaces or food or great achievements, they're all, they all, not all of them, some of them, many of them have value in this practical value in the world. Some of the things people do to get that feeling contentment might actually be destructive. But as far as human enjoyment, as far as the basic problem of human life, which is that we sort of seem to have like this infinite, bottomless thirst for joy. No matter what we get, we can always conceive of something else that we don't have. So nothing outside of us really solves that problem. We keep getting these little here, sometimes a big but then we're on to the next moment. It's like our perpetual unstated question to the world is like, what have you done for me lately? So the good news from all the sages, the good news from some of the people whose pictures you see here, from the Buddha and Shankara and Sri Ramana and all that, the good news from the sages is that this space of awareness, which we are, which we never leave, which for lack of a better word is within us, because it's not outside of us, so we call it within us. It's not really anywhere, but within your stomach, your pancreas, no. But that is, the more we spend allowing ourselves to settle into it, and more clearly cognizing its nature, the more clearly we see this is the real awe, of which all the other awes are kind of pale reflections. I remember as a little kid being confused because, I heard about Santa Claus, and Santa comes on Christmas from the North Pole, and then you go to the department store and you see the Santa there, and then there was where I was growing as a little kid in Westbury, Long Island, they brought a fire truck would come like a day or two before Christmas, and there was another Santa there. And I remember saying to my mom, how are there all these different Santas? And she said, well, those are all, helper Santas, right? So it's like all these other things are like the helper awe. But the real awe, the real Santa, the real giver of the gift, the true gift, the gift that keeps on giving, right, is our own awareness. And that's really good news, because that's the one thing that can't be taken away from us. It's one of the things I love about working with my guys in prison. Because, they're living a life where everything's been taken away from them. And there's a lot of guys at Northern State Prison. But the guys that I work with, they've figured out that, okay, let me use this. What's the skillful way to use this if I'm going to be here for 5 years or 30 years or whatever it is? What's the most skillful way to use the situation of having everything taken away? Okay, settle into this nothing. Discover that my happiness doesn't depend on any of that stuff. Had a really wonderful experience last week when I went to do that day-long retreat with the prison group. When I first came in, I came into our room. It was a little annex off the chapel. And the guys started gathering for our retreat. And one guy, Miguel is the only guy left there from the original group when I first started going there in 2005. The others have been released or transferred to other institutions. So Miguel's the last of my OGs, my original gangsters. And he's a sweet, wonderful guy. He writes poetry, he reads philosophy, he always wants to debate with me about Plato and Socrates and Cervantes and Shakespeare, and he's from the Dominican Republic, and for all his great literacy and all his years in America, he's still got this thick Dominican accent. So a lot of the time I'm sitting there nodding and smiling and pretending I understand what he's talking about. And since I moved out here, so I'm not there every Thursday night for them, Miguel has sort of taken on a leadership role of really, keep helping to lead the group. It's just great. So Miguel, the other day when I was there, Miguel comes in and he says, oh, wait a minute, and he runs out again. And a few minutes later, he comes back with a young CO, corrections officer. And this CO is just beaming. This young guy is just beaming, and Miguel introduces him, Dean Slider, and the guy's just I say, oh, I'm so happy to meet you. I'm so happy to meet you. And he leaves, and later on at lunch, I asked Miguel, well, what was that about? And he said, well, a couple of months ago, I was walking across the yard, and that CO, officer, whatever his name is, pulls me aside, and he says, what is it about you that makes you different from the other guys here? He says, you've got something else going on. What is it? Hear what a wise question that is? And Miguel said to him, if you really want to know, I'll meet you here on this spot, same time tomorrow. And so the next day, Miguel comes back. There's the CO, and he gave him actually a copy of my book, Natural Meditation. And Miguel said, "Read this, practice it." And he did.
Oh, wow.
This story made me so happy. So happy. You know? And
Just the relationship between them.
the relationship, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Every relationship has the potential to be really wonderful like that, or really terrible, and all the stuff in between. You know, like, what is marriage like? Well, sometimes it sucks. You know, and sometimes it's just sublime. Any relationship has that whole range of potentiality. And to have that happen on that high level, you know, but that the CO recognized that spark in Miguel, that was the thing, you know. And and what that means is Miguel is putting out that spark. He's shining that light, and you know, for the 100 other COs that would not take the step of doing that, still, to some degree, they've got to be seeing it. To some degree, they're being affected by it. They're being elevated by it. As everyone who comes in contact with you is elevated, whether or not they ever say anything about it. You can't help it. You can't help it. You're sitting down and you're settling into this boundlessness, this perfect, empty, qualityless, luminous openness, which, you know, as you know, when we first start to sit down and meditate, you know, sometimes it just seems very foggy, like, what's happening? I don't know, I feel a little bit relaxed, great, okay. And then other times we sit down and we're not doing anything different, and we just, oh man, that's why they call it ananda, that's why they call it bliss. I get it. And then maybe next time we sit down, we're tempted to, I want to get back to that ananda place. And then you give yourself a headache, and then you stop meditating for a while, and you say, right. And we all go through this drama. And then it just, the long ranges, it just becomes clear that the fact that it's foggy one time and clear another time has nothing to do with what we're doing. It's just that's the way the nervous system is. But over the long term, as you know, those of you who've been practicing for a while, it tends to get clearer and clearer in meditation. And here's the key thing, clearer and clearer out of meditation. Because it's the same awareness, the same boundless, open, empty space. You know, what's the difference between sitting with the eyelids in this position and this position? Not much. It's just, you know, seeing different colors. The colors are vaguer when my eyelids are closed, that's all. It's all just stuff coming and going within awareness. Awareness is like the sky. It's easier at first to recognize that when your eyes are closed, for most people. Because we're used to, you know, when we see stuff, we kind of get caught up in all the storylines. Right? But more and more, okay, all the storylines are there, and they also are taking place within this space. So it's fine. So the more you do that, the more you're experiencing that boundlessness, not trying to, not having to think about it, just here it is. And it's so, and because that is what everyone else is at their root. Because everyone's mind, like, you know, the horse trying to get back to the corral at feeding time, is looking for that all the time. They recognize in you that which they are looking for. They may not consciously recognize it, but something in them responds to that. It has to. So you're you know, people sometimes they get into this, you know, to whatever, to lower their blood pressure, and they find out, oh, actually I'm changing the world. Okay. You know, my slogan is, you'll come for the stress release, you'll stay for the enlightenment. However we get people in the tent is fine with me. Questions or about any of this? Comments?
What's been very helpful for me is
Oh, talk a little louder, please, so our
Oh,
YouTube
yeah.
friends can hear.
no, I was just noticing that my meditation was interesting because it was moving back and forth between hell and heaven. So I've been resentful, very resentful over the past 4 days. And it was very powerful to notice, to come back to what's true, and to see that even though in one moment I can think about killing that person or being very nasty, and then the next second I'm like, okay, this is a peaceful moment, nothing is happening,
Right.
there's a noise, and so it's just an interesting mix. But it gives you some perspective that even though you feel rage, you see there's some background of peace in the midst.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up. It's a very important point because people often expect that, meditation means if I'm going to close my eyes, it's going to be all sweetness and light. I'm going to be thinking happy, loving, spiritual thoughts, and then you're just processing all this. Right. Often it's the opposite of that expectation because sometimes it's the stuff you've been, just to get through the day, you've been repressing the stuff. And then it may start to come out in the meditation. Okay? And that's fine. That's fine. Stuff getting processed, stuff getting sorted out is fine. At the same time, one little note of caution on this. It's not psychotherapy. Okay? Actually, it may, in a sense, sometimes very effectively serve the same function as psychotherapy, sometimes better, because Mother Nature is the therapist here. But it's not the same as therapy in that we're not trying. It's not, okay, I'm going to sit down here and close my eyes, hit the meditation gong, and solve my problems. Because then we're involved in trying to direct the mind and manage the mind again. And that's not meditation, that's something else, which may have some value, but that's not what you're describing. What you're describing is you're sitting. I know you know how to just sit and let everything be, and notice that everything is unmanaged and unmanageable. And part of the unmanageability is that some of this stuff comes up. And when it comes up, we don't try to push it away, but we also don't buy into it. It's like the time when my daughter was small and we took her to Disneyland. And at the end of the night, when they had the electrical parade, and at the end of the parade is the big float with the Grand Marshal, Mickey Mouse, and my little 3-year-old Terrace went, "Mickey, I love Mickey!" And she started running toward that. We had to pull her back. Okay? So all of this stuff that, the different feelings and the thoughts, and I'm going to kill this person, and I really love that person, that's like all the different floats in the parade. So we don't try to get in front of the parade and go, "Stop, you're not supposed to be here, I'm going to have peace." But we also don't run and jump on the floats. Just let the parade go by, and we don't much bother about it either way. It takes care of itself. Good, what else? What else?
Well, what would be helpful for me in her case, without knowing details, I'm not trying to
Right.
Go in the back door and get her to divulge. But what helps me is to say I didn't commit the deed. You didn't commit the deed, whatever the deed was. So you can have your peace.
Yeah. So sometimes it's other people's stuff, and sometimes you have committed some deed.
Well, maybe sometimes. But
Yeah.
scenario, she's sort of painful.
So my point is that whatever the stuff is, for the purposes of meditation, we treat it the same, which is we treat it like it's in a foreign language. I don't know if you've ever been at the airport or just down by the beach here, where there's so many tourists, and Yatha and I will walk there and we'll go, let's see, what have we heard today? Japanese, German, Russian, and then, gee, what the heck language are those people speaking? So you just treat the thoughts like they're in some language that you don't even understand. It's just some blah, blah, blah. So it's like, the neighbor's TV running off. We don't pay much attention to it. We don't try to block it out because we can't, and that then you create a problem for yourself. How can I be at peace when the neighbor's TV is going? See, then you have created non-peace by knocking your head against what can't be changed. You know, it's the good old tranquility prayer, the serenity prayer, right? Give me the, what is it? Give me,
Serenity to accept the things I
wait.
cannot change, courage to things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
right, right. Yeah, so the serenity to accept the things I can't change, right? We can't change the barking dog. We can't change it. Right? We can't change the fact that these thoughts are coming along. Now you might think, oh, I can. I'm going to keep those thoughts out. Well, that's where you need the wisdom to tell the difference. And the courage to change the things you can, great, but that's after meditation. We don't try to work things out during meditation. And the interesting thing, for those of you who are familiar with that serenity prayer, maybe it's been important in your life, you may have noticed there's a lot of people who say that prayer, but it's really hard to live it. It's really like where is that serenity? You know, the ideal is so beautiful, the aspiration is so beautiful, but like, do they have that serenity? And oh man, I've been watching this guy for 7 years. He's not showing a lot of wisdom, right? So, this is because it's not enough to have the lovely ideal of it. The serenity that happens during meditation is not just an ideal, it's neurophysiological. It's a settling down into a wakeful hypometabolic state. A state where and all of this has been, over the last several decades, thoroughly corroborated in the labs, that the whole system settles down to a deep state of rest similar to that in sleep, except that the brainwave pattern indicates we're wide awake to enjoy that silence, to marinate in that silence. That's called serenity. And it's a style of functioning of the nervous system. It's not just a nice, Hallmark card or refrigerator magnet slogan or Facebook meme or something. It's something real. And in that sense, we can really understand the importance of regularity of practice. So the one thing, especially for the couple of new people here tonight who want to know, for what it's worth, what do I recommend? What I recommend is sit down ideally every day and do this. Ideally at the same time every day, just so that it becomes automatic, like brushing your teeth. And then you see what happens. That's the way it really gets integrated into your life. That's how you really find out what this stuff can do. And usually it's good to start with some kind of on-ramp. Sam and I were talking earlier about on-ramps. Maybe we were doing the on-ramp of, what were we doing? A couple of deep sighs like that, great. Because we've been running around all day doing other stuff. So a little bit of transition. Some people like to get into, deeper breathing stuff. Fine, if you're familiar with that and you like that, great. Or you can just sit and let your gaze rest on a spot on the rug, a couple of feet in front of you. Yeah, okay, a spot on the rug. And after a while, just close your eyes. Or, this is one that I like. You move your body like a metronome, right? It's not this, it's moving from here, the whole body like a metronome. And you move back and forth, and you let the motions gradually, so gradually get smaller and smaller and smaller. You can close your eyes and just letting the movements get smaller and smaller. And you're doing it so gradually that at a certain point, someone observing from the outside couldn't say for sure whether you're still moving or not. And you're not quite sure yourself. And you'll find that's very, very nice at kind of bringing the attention in and settling it. And then just forget about that and just rest as awareness. That's the 3 words to take home.
What?
Rest as awareness. You notice all the stuff going on here, you're not it. You're the space, you are the space within which it's experienced. You're the welcoming sky. Just rest as the sky, rest as the space. Anytime you get puzzled, wait, what am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be? Oh, I'm caught up in this. Just relax, whatever it is, relax your grip on it. Relax back into that open space-like awareness. And then however things are within that is perfect, fine. And then remember, always take a couple, 2-3 minutes to come out at the end because the body has been in this deep hypometabolic state. And it settles in so naturally and incrementally, we may not realize how deeply we're settled. If you come out too quickly, it can shock the body. You can feel spaced or headachy or something. So you always want to ease out. Yeah, Joe?
When in your regular practice, do you use something like a timer, or do you just go for as long as you want, or what do you do?
Do I use a timer? No. Now, I don't have a job.
Right.
Right. Yeah, Yafa has a job. She goes to work at her job so we can make money and eat. So if you're meditating in the morning and you need to get off to a job, you're meditating in the evening and you need to get to your dinner date or whatever, you might want to set a little timer. Other than that, though, my real recommendation, and it took me years to figure out this dumb thing, throw the timer, throw the clock out of your meditation space. Just meditate in no time. You know, when people come up to me and say, okay, I've been meditating for 25 minutes a day and I'm working toward 30. And I know the key word there is working. They're like meditating by the yard, making it work. Okay? For how many minutes do you put on the earphones and listen to your favorite music? For how many, what's the proper amount of time for walking on the beach with the one you love? Or for whatever, strolling through the park, for lolling over your favorite art book or comic book or whatever it is. All of those activities, what they have in common is you're not timing them. You're part of what makes them so charming, so enjoyable, is that you lose track of time. You sort of lose track of the world of time and space, and you get a little bit of mini transcendence, a little mini meditation. So throw out the clock and just hang. It's better to, I'm very serious about this, better to sit down and have 1 minute of just being, just letting things be as they are, than 30 minutes of grinding away at trying to be a good meditator. I'm very, very serious about that. I experienced this one. Some of you have heard this story when I was on this long retreat with my teacher Maharishi in Mallorca years ago. And one day he said, okay, today's a big day. We just meditate as much as you want. You don't have to come to meetings. You don't have to come to teachings. You don't have to come to meals. Today's the day to dig in. And so I sat in my room and I got myself all set up. I said, okay, this is it. We're storming the barricades of enlightenment. Do or die. And I went in with that attitude and I sat there and I meditated in one spot. I didn't move a muscle. I sat there for 6 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I sat there for 6 hours, and then I said, okay, 6 hours. I really did it. Now I'm going to stop. And then I stopped, and then I sunk. Then I sunk within me because then I stopped trying to meditate. And then And then I don't know, I was there for about another half hour or something, and that was the real meditation. The rest was just, I don't know, some bullshit to, you know. But, you know, we go through the certain amount of that to get to this. But there's no good reason that you have to do any of that. There's bad reasons. Okay? And the job of, as I see it, of a meditation guide, a meditation teacher, is just to shorten, help you see through all the games and the bullshit of all that stuff, so you can just shorten the time till you just give up.
I mean, I guess it's like a nap. Eventually, you'll wake up.
Oh yeah, eventually, yes, yeah. As far as I know, no one's gotten stuck. May it be your worst problem, stuck in the divine honeypot.
Well, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about using the mantra as a? You said, "Oh, look at, gaze at a." Yeah. Using a mantra as an on ramp. If you like that, that's great. I do that sometimes. I love mantra. My favorite mantra is because that's the natural mantra. It's natural. It's universal. It's in every language. And because there's this mind-body thing, is the sound that we make when we find the parking spot, when we get the right flavor ice cream. That sound is connected for us with the nervous system opening itself to that place of satisfaction. Okay? My other favorite mantra is, as some of you know, whee! Okay? Do that 3 times. You have to throw your hands up in the air in a gesture of wild exuberance. And then do that 3 times and then try to be depressed. It's very difficult to be depressed. Because mantras are, you're right, there's great wisdom in the use of mantra because they're neurophysiologically or psychoacoustically optimized sound. Okay, they get to be they're not random, they're not arbitrary. They, got to be through thousands of years of research and development in India and Tibet and China. People found, that's a sound that's conducive to the nervous system settling down into a wakeful hypometabolic state. Now, some people do meditations where they stay with the mantra, they keep coming back to the mantra through the whole meditation. There's forms of meditation. Transcendental meditation is like that. In my experience of my own practice, and in working with other people with their practice, what I think seems to work best for most people is use this stuff as an on-ramp for a little while, a couple of minutes, and then get off the on-ramp. The whole point of the on-ramp is to get into the express lane. And the express lane is just being, just hanging out as awareness, just resting as awareness. So, like in Zen Buddhism, they breathe, count the breaths. That's what I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different practices.
Different,
there's a lot even within the practices. There's many different schools of Zen, and within a given school of Zen, many different kind of levels of practice. And they'll do things with breathing. They meditate on what's called koan. It's kind of an existential riddle, like show me the face your parents had before you were born. Show me the face you had before your parents met.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I like that one.
That's a good one.
I like that one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. But in Zen, ultimately all that stuff falls away. And the ultimate practice...
on-ramp.
That's the on-ramp. And in Zen, the ultimate practice is something called shikantaza, which sounds exotic because it's in Japanese, but
Right.
it turns out that the word shikantaza means just sitting. That's what we're doing here. We're doing shikantaza. In Tibetan, it's called Dzogpa Chenpo, or Dzogchen, the great natural perfection. In other words, just recognizing and acknowledging and surrendering to the natural perfection of things as they are, rather than try to make things other than as they are, rather than try to do something about it. and my particular approach is let's get to the Zogpa Chempo, let's get to the Shikantaza as quickly as possible. And what I find is most people, with a little bit of precision of guidance, can get there really fast. Because there's nowhere to get. You just need a little clarity of just be right here.
Right.
A little bit of clarity. We were actually this morning, Yafa and I were remembering this particular, actually Dzogchen teacher that we both studied with. We actually met on a Buddhist retreat, a Tibetan. Yafa and I met on a Tibetan Buddhist retreat at the Garrison Institute in beautiful place in upstate New York.
Zen Mountain Monastery? No.
It's in an old former Catholic monastery.
Yeah, Zen Mountain Monastery.
No.
That's another-
Garrison Institute.
Okay.
Yeah, it's across the river
Oh,
from.
I know where Garrison is. Yeah, it's a different place.
Yeah, it's across the river from West Point, which is a lot of fun
Right.
because on that side of the river, these big guns are going off the side. We're sitting there and do a lot of practice with. Okay, the sound of the guns comes and goes.
Right.
So the teacher on this retreat is an American Lama named Lama Surya Das, he's a character. He's a great big guy, looks like a truck driver, and talks like a Jewish guy from Long Island because he's a Jewish guy from Long Island. And you know, there's this thing in a lot of those traditions where you get a spiritual name. You know, like you give up your old name and you become, you know, like we were talking before about that Ram Dass film. You know, Ram Dass was Richard Alpert, and he goes to India and he meets his guru, and now he's Ram Dass. Often people kind of miss the point of that, I think. The point of getting the spiritual name is giving up your old identity. Giving up all the old stories around being, you know, Richard Alpert or being Dean or being Sam or whoever you think you are. And getting, you know, what does the name Ram Dass mean? It means servant of God. And so you're not serving yourself, you're not serving your old storyline anymore. You're serving that bigger thing, which is that vast awareness, that ocean of being, which is everyone's, which is everyone, which is everything. It's losing your specialness. But a lot of people, I think, my impression is, see it as, ooh, now I'm getting special. Now I've got the spiritual name. Now I'm a spiritual person, right? Now I'm, right? So, I mean, I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen to myself. I've gotten spiritual names from 3 or 4 of my teachers, and now I'm, you know. So we're in the middle of this retreat. And one day I asked a question. I was always asking a lot of questions in those days. And Lama Surya Das calls on me and he says, yeah, Bob? I said, Surya, you've known me for years. You do know my name is Dean, right? And he said, yeah. I think Bob is a good name for you. And I think this is possibly the best teaching I ever had from this Lama. Because it is a good name for me because it is the most beige, American, unassuming, honest, no bullshit name you can possibly. That's a real spiritual name. So thank you, Surya.
So when will this be on YouTube?
As soon as I get this up, I'll get this up within the next day or two. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see all the past ones we've been doing for about the last year.
What is it, deanwords.com?
Deanwords.com is my website. If you go to my website, there's a lot of good stuff there. There's chapters from all my books, and there's links there to the YouTube channel.
Okay.
Or you can just go to YouTube and type my name in the search box, and you'll find it, and you'll find a bunch of sessions like this.
Of the presentations.
I'm sorry?
Then the dates.
Yeah, and the date, and usually I have a couple words for a topic, which is so. What the heck was our topic tonight?
It was.
The wisdom of Bob or something. I don't know. Right. So we'll do this again 2 weeks from tonight. For the couple of new people, if you're not on my email list, you might want to do that, so then you'll get reminders of these things. I promise not to sell your email to the devil or anyone else. So may all beings, and I like to finish the session with just kind of pulling it together and a thought about the aspiration of what we've been doing here. May all beings swiftly realize their own true nature. Swiftly realize that the source of all joy, the source of all reprieve, of all release, is within them all along and always available. That anyone, everyone, under all circumstances, no matter what they're locked up in, can recognize that true happiness, and thus may peace prevail throughout this world and all possible worlds. And the traditional Sanskrit for that aspiration: Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.